Good morning. I'm going to start a new series about structuring our self-defense training. Okay, and this just by chance, well, not really by chance, but I put a lot of thought into this, and it's how I structure my Nami Bujutsu curriculum. So that's what you would expect if you ever want to train with me or train in our system. However, I think it's also just a relevant general guidelines to anyone seeking to learn martial arts for self-defense. Okay, so we're going to mostly talk about level one. And then tomorrow will be level 2, 3, 4, 5, and that'll kind of cover the system. First things first, though, is I differentiate between self-protection and self-defense. Self-protection is the 99.9% of the time that you spend your life not in conflict, presuming that you're in a safe general environment and violence isn't a necessary part of your daily life. And self-defense is the 0.1% where everything else that you do doesn't work and you actually end up in a physical altercation. All right, so that means that accordingly, most of our training is mental. Most of our training is about conflict avoidance. It's about de-escalation, and we have to always keep that in mind when we're doing things, right? So that's step one, right? So self-protection and self-defense. Self-protection is our life choices, how we interact with people. It's making priorities, right? So that we're not looking at, this guy offended me, that's worth a fight. No, this guy stole my stuff, that's worth a fight. No. Basically, the only time that it is right to engage in violence is when you have to defend yourself, and your family, and in the rare occasion others, but even that's not always as clear cut, right? So there you go. So level one in self-defense training is understanding conflict, it's understanding violence, it's understanding de-escalation practices, and it's remembering that self-defense is survival, right? Survive and escape. That's it. If you survive and escape an altercation, you have successfully completed self-defense, all right? There's no room in there for jumping on top of somebody and bashing their head in once you knock them down. That's not self-defense. None of that is self-defense. So self-defense is only survive and escape. So in level one, you're looking at learning things like, and this is all stuff that I picked up from all other sources, so you can Google this, but the fence and the switch, right? So how do you set an appropriate physical barrier? Switch, how do you engage your mental facilities so that once you determine that a threat is imminent, that you go full go, right? There's no playing, there's no gamesmanship, there's no, come on, buddy, let's put him up. No, it's just, hey, I don't want any trouble. Oh, I can't avoid trouble. This is happening internally. Hey, I don't want any trouble. I can't avoid a trouble. Uh-oh. Boom, you move, right? So the fence, the switch. Then you have leaps, which is a de-escalation tactic. You listen, you empathize, you ask, you paraphrase, you summarize. You use these skills to bring somebody down, to understand what the issue is, to resolve the issue non-violently. You don't need a lot of skill to do this. You just need to touch that part of you that doesn't want to fight, right? So just reach inside, love, be compassionate, be understanding, be empathetic, and you'll get there, okay? If you really, really don't want to fight, odds are you won't have to, okay? Then you have other things like understanding the attack cycle, right? So for somebody to attack you, they have to go out looking for somebody to attack. They have to choose somebody to attack. They have to then stalk that person to decide whether or not they're worth attacking. Then they have to get close enough to attack that person, and then they have to attack that person. So at each step of that journey, you have an opportunity to break the cycle, right? So if they're looking for somebody, don't be somebody that they choose, right? If somebody's looking to pick a fight, keep your head down, look away, buy them a drink, do whatever, but you don't need to, engage with that person. If they do choose you, they're going to start stalking you. They're going to start trying to figure out how they're going to attack you, when they're going to attack you, why they're going to attack you. So make good choices. Stay aware of your surroundings. Don't flail a bunch of money around and get blitzed in public and do stupid stuff. Once they're stalking you, they got to close, they got to get close enough to hurt you. Again, stay aware. A lot of times you can just say, hey, can I help you, right? Somebody starts getting close to you. Hey, can I help you? You get your fence up, you show them they're your ready. Most people aren't looking for somebody to actually fight them. They're looking for somebody that they can jump for a good time, a wallet they can snatch easily. Your average violence does not include a lot of sociopaths, okay? That doesn't mean that they're not out there, and that doesn't mean that there's not more dangerous situations, but generally speaking, right, that's really all you need for self-defense, is that awareness, that desire not to fight. Then you have understanding the 4Ds, destruction, it starts the other way, so you have dialogue, distraction, deception, and destruction. These are things to look out for in your interactions. Most people who are going to attack you are going to look away first and then hit you, right? So it's training these elements. It's psychologically preparing yourself for what violence actually looks like and how to avoid it, right? how to bring it down, how to de-escalate, how to maintain your space. And then that's the next step, right? So once we've learned about the psychology of it, and once we've got some skills ingrained, then our training needs to be about employing those skills to maintain and control our space. So if we are constantly outside of somebody's arm's reach and they don't have a firearm, they can't hurt us, right? So to hurt us, somebody either has to have a firearm or projectile weapon, or they have to be close enough to hit us or stab us, right? So if we can control that space, then we've significantly increased our level of safety, right? So our first step in training is space control, right? And that includes pushing, shoving, grabbing. That includes taking advantageous positions so that if they do get in your space, they're not easily able to follow on with a series of attacks. They have to reorient themselves. And again, you're creating space. You're always looking to survive and escape. And in that process, you're looking at opportunities to run away, right? So this is when you're looking at how to get out of up off the ground. This is where you're looking at, okay, this engagement has happened. I've shoved them. Now I'm running away. Survive and escape, right? And in that process, you might close, okay? And if you close and you have to engage in violence, the goal is to close quickly, be as destructive as possible, as quickly as possible, right? And by destructive, I mean stopping their will to fight, okay? Ideally, we don't have to do much. Ideally, it can, just a palm to the face where we displace their eyes, we knock them backwards, and we say, hey, I don't want to fight anymore, that can stop it, right? So destruction isn't necessarily incapacitation or breaking things. It is going in, explosively ending a situation, creating that space and running away, right? Survive and escape, okay? And so you've maintained your space. For whatever reason that's failed, you've closed. In that close engagement, you explosively deal with the situation, you recreate space, and you try and run away, you try and escape, right? This is all part of level 1. And then we'll get into level 2 tomorrow, all right? So level 1, if you're looking to do your self-defense training, I highly suggest that you look into violence. You look into how to de-escalate situations. You look at yourself and figure out what kind of attitude you're presenting to the world, how you can manage your behavior so as to avoid situations, what kind of decisions are you making that are putting yourself at risk, etc. And then look at how do you control your space, how do you push people, shove people, avoid being pushed and shoved, how do you maintain your situational awareness to take advantage of or mitigate the risks in your environment. This is all the foundation of self-defense training. So if you aren't starting on that, then you have a big hole. Okay, so for those of you that engage in traditional martial arts that don't teach a lot of this psychological training, it's up to you to go out there, do your research, dig into it, and find answers to these questions so that you're better prepared to not engage in violence, which is the ultimate goal of martial training. Food for thought.